Have you ever been backpacking and suddenly realized that you did a terrible job wiping your ass?
Hey, yo, son, I got the booty itches. Let me handle this right quick.
Why you smiling? You know, there's mad shit about backpacking that sucks, dude. There's a ton of inconveniences. But, you know, somewhere along the way, backpacking became this beautifully curated Instagram fantasy with the epic views and the golden sunsets and the crystal clear lakes and the waterfalls and the smiling faces and those drone shots and the peace and serenity. And yeah, that's what we're out there chasing when we're out in the backcountry. But those epic views are the byproduct. Backpacking is the recipe. And every recipe has a ton of little ingredients that go into it that play a role. These ingredients can be spicy or salty or bitter. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, is about the recipe of backpacking. Okay, I just want to simplify this a little bit for you guys to understand it a little bit better. In the wonderful world of lean manufacturing, there's this tool that we use, and we call it a S.I.P.O.C. So the S.I.P.O.C is an acronym, and it stands for suppliers, inputs, processes, outputs, and customers. Stick with me. This will make total sense in a minute. We're going to start with the process, and the process that we're currently talking about is backpacking, consisting of hiking plus camping. So that's our process. Now we're going to work our way outwards. What inputs do we need? So obviously, previous experience, our gear, and all the little things, food. And obviously you could get as granular as you need it to be. Now we're going to work our way to the supplier. So the supplier section is obviously going to be you and me. So places like REI, Garage Grown Gear, etc., etc. You get the gist. Okay. Now working our way out this way, we're going to go ahead and skip the O, and we're going to look at the C for customer. And the customer is always going to be the same. So when I'm doing this S.I.P.O.C for myself, it's going to be me. But in this case, I'm teaching you about the S.I.P.O.C. So you and me, that's the customer. We're looking at the recipe here. And these are the ingredients. Now with these outputs, so what you're going to get is some of the things that we go out there to experience when we go backpacking. Things like epic views and serenity. It's an escape from reality and from our problems. However, in our outputs, we're also going to experience all the nuances and annoyances that come included with backpacking. Since day one, I've been struggling with backpacking, and you've been too. Let's talk about these ingredients. People tend to forget there's an input to get the output. So all these beautiful views you see, they come with a cost. There's a price to pay. Sometimes this shit sucks, bro. Like tons of little itty bitty things that just, it comes with the territory, like blisters and losing a toenail. Like, bruh, I lost a toenail. My right foot, my big toe turned black as hell, bruh. Talking about, I'm finna go grab me some fried chicken, some watermelon. He just fell off.
It was at this moment he knew he fucked up.
When you finally run into a campsite net and there's a privy and you think to yourself, ooh, I could sit down, and then you look at the damn thing and it's like, hell nah. I'd rather go out into the woods. Doing number 2 when it's freezing cold is rough. Digging a cat hole when the ground is as hard as concrete. Digging a cat hole when it's raining, when you realize that you're out there without no toilet paper. And the instant fly swarm on your doo-doo the moment before it even hits the ground.
What?
And it's not the, oh my God, I almost died moment. It's all the little nagging inconveniences that we just find annoying while we are out on the trail. All those little sucky parts about backpacking that we tend to overlook and not talk about very often, especially on YouTube. But they're part of the process. You can't get the rainbow without the rain. These are all things that come with the territory. Smelling like you crawled out of a dumpster after a few days, like your clothes developing their own ecosystem, and even being afraid of lifting your arms because you are well aware of what's going on with your body odor. It's that feeling when you feel permanently covered in sweat and dirt. Once you realize that you got dirt permanently embedded inside of your fingernails, you start eating with your dirty ass hands because good enough becomes the standard. Your feet smelling so bad that you're afraid to take off your socks inside your own tent. When you start to realize that you haven't seen yourself in a mirror in a few days, you wonder what's happening. You feel it. Packing your tent when it's soaking wet, hoping that you'll get a chance throughout the day to dry it out. Arriving at camp and realizing that your shelter, your tent, never dried out while you were hiking. Oh, Lord. And then the worst is actually setting up a wet tent. You ever try to organize your wet gear in your little tiny ass tent? And then once you're in there, sleeping surrounded by a bunch of damp gear, hoping that you could dry out throughout the night. Condensation dripping right on your face. There's one spot where the condensation is deciding to drip, and it just so happens to be your sleeping pad making all these crunchy sounds every time you want to shift. And if you're in a shelter or if you're in a tent site, they're gonna be like, damn boy, you move a lot. Trying to change clothes inside of a tiny tent without performing accidental gymnastics is damn near impossible. Getting dressed lying down in the tent because sitting up costs too much effort and way too much core strength. Core strength that you don't have. Putting on wet socks first thing in the morning, and then putting on wet shoes first thing in the morning on top of all. Oh Lord. Having to go badly right after you picked up camp. Having to pee in the middle of the night once you're all tucked in. Especially when it's cold, dude. Somebody needs to invent that damn tent catheter. Or a bladder. And you could call it the main vein drain. You can snuggle up with the warm bladder in the middle of the night because it's cold. A rain jacket trapping so much sweat underneath that you're gonna be wet regardless. Getting to camp and realizing that the work is just starting. Knowing that you have to cook dinner when your body just wants to collapse on the ground. The thought that always creeps up, damn, I could be sitting on my couch right now. That moment that you start to realize that your relaxing vacation, your PTO that you've actually saved up is really unpaid manual labor. When you start to wonder if you're actually enjoying the trip or you're just enduring it. The trail just be teasing you with fake summits and you see a ridgeline and then you realize, that's not even the ridgeline that the trail goes on. And it's like, you just wave at it like, damn. Sometimes it's so miserable that you just feel like the trail is out to get you and it's just disrespecting you at every turn, realizing that the hardest moments become the stories that you tell later. You're missing home, and at the same time, you're not wanting to leave. At some point, you're going to want the trip to end, and at the same time, you want it to never end. And you're out there feeling real tiny standing next to these mountains and realizing that all your problems back home feel just a little bit smaller while you're out there. How about your camera battery dying right when you're about to take that epic shot? Right when you get to the summit, you're about to take that picture and all of a sudden, once you get home, you realize you missed the misery that you were just bitching about while you was out there. Splitting them spider webs across your face every morning while you're on trail. You just catching spider webs to the face, a little tiny pebble in your shoe that you ignore until it becomes a disaster. Or developing a hole in your socks. A loose shoelace that constantly keeps coming undone. The sweat dripping in your eyes. Bugs flying in your eyeballs. Or bugs flying into your mouth while you're hiking. Or your water filter starts to trickle when you're miles from civilization. It starts to slow down it's like, you're just squeezing your thighs, rubbing raw from walking all day. Shoulders feeling bruised from your backpack straps. Your hips hurting from your hip belt. Getting to camp and finally lying down, and then you start to realize that your muscles start twitching, like your thigh muscles. Waking up in the morning feeling like you just got hit by a truck. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Don't front. If you've been on trail, I know you're suffering from these.
Your first steps out of the tent, joints feeling like you're 80 years old, feeling your pack heavy before you even leave camp, and just knowing that today's gonna be a rough day. You ever had your hands start to swell from hiking all day? Your fingers going numb when it's cold and you're trying to do camp chores? Your lips cracking from the wind and the cold? That weather forecast being completely off every single time? You start feeling that little trickle of sweat coming down the middle of your back? Your clothes never drying because the humidity just won't quit. Bugs finding the one little inch of skin that you forgot to cover and finding a tick on you even though you're fully protected. Hearing animals outside your tent and immediately becoming a wildlife expert. Dropping some food on the ground and then deciding if it's still edible using the 5-second rule. Accidentally knocking over your cooking pot. Realizing that trail hunger doesn't always translate to trail appetite. Arriving at camp later than you expected and then racing daylight, or getting to camp at night and having to set everything up and then cook and do everything at night with your headlamp. You know how I feel about backpacking pillows. Your pillow just escaping you throughout the night. Like, where the hell does this thing be going? Like, it be sliding off this way, sliding off that way.
It is what it is. Now, you want to find solutions in order for you to not have to go through that? Well, your best bet is going to be R&D. So you need to do a bunch of research and trial and error. The only way to correct some of these things is with experience. So the more you get out on trail, the more you'll be able to correct these things. And your best bet is to maybe grab one of these S.I.P.O.C and just make note of all your little outputs. As you start listing out things like, man, I got some blisters, I got a tick, whatever the case may be. In order for you to prevent these outputs, you put something into your inputs. So what you're going to do for blister prevention, you're going to get some leukotape, maybe get some different trail runners. You found some ticks on you, permethrin or picaridin. As you work with your outputs, you start putting more things into your inputs to eliminate some of these negative outputs. So gear is not everything. However, if anybody tells you that gear is not important, then they're full of shit, because gear is absolutely important. Otherwise, there would be people backpacking naked. There's inputs in order for us to offset some of the negative outputs. However, you're going to need to learn the hard way. You're going to need to take off the training wheels per se and scrape your knee a couple of times. Do your own S.I.P.O.C at home. See how it works out. Get a little bit more granular. And even for each individual output, you can do its own S.I.P.O.C. So you can get really granular with any one of these. That all works towards the process of backpacking. Man, I'm tired of pretending like backpacking is pretty.
Because it's not always pretty, dude. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's rough. The sweat in your eyes. I tend to wear a buff across my forehead under my hat, and that tends to catch all the sweat from running into my eyes. The knees crackling on the downhills. I bring a neoprene knee brace. The more you get out there, the more you start learning from these experiences. And you start to realize there's a lot of inputs that go into this recipe in order for you to get the outputs that you're looking for, serenity and the peace that you experience while you're out on trail. But you have to put in these ingredients, and sometimes these ingredients are less than savory. You just have to find ways to offset them. And the way you learn about these offsets is more experience, more time on trail. And we get out there, we go out on trail, and we get primal and we get feral. Stay feral.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
So if you enjoy getting feral, watch this one next. Stay feral.